All right, guys, so we're talking about parallel and perpendicular lines today, and this one can be a little bit lengthy. I'm going to split it up into a couple of videos at least, so as we're going through it, when it ends, you can just go to the next video. What we started off doing first was finding the slopes of some of these lines, and the way we did that was we used rise over run. What the slopes ended up being was the slope of line A was 1/2, and the slope of line B was also 1/2. Now, if we look at those two lines, look at line A and B, they do look like maybe they would never intersect as they continue to go. They are parallel, okay? So the first thing you might want to remember is that parallel lines have equal slopes. If I look at line C, I get the rise over run is 2/1, which equals 2. And then if I look at line D, I get the slope of -2/1, which is -2. If I look at -2/1, I'm going to write it right here. It is the reciprocal of 1/2, and it's the opposite because it's negative instead of positive. What that tells us is that we have perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines cross at 90-degree angles. We're going to move down the notes just a little bit here. That's the very bottom of this one. Oops, sorry. Lines that are parallel have slopes that are equal. If you have two equations and their slopes are equal, you have parallel lines, like y equals 2x minus 1 is parallel to y equals 2x plus or minus anything. Lines that are perpendicular are a little bit tougher sometimes. They're opposite reciprocals. Opposite reciprocals. Opposite means you're going to change the sign. If something's negative, you're going to change it to positive. If it's positive, you're going to change it to negative. Reciprocal means you're going to flip whatever it was. So, for example, if I had 5, the opposite of positive 5 is -5, and the reciprocal is 1/5. Another one might be if I had the slope negative, 2/5. Well, the opposite of negative is positive, and the reciprocal of 2/5 is 5/2. So both of those lines with those slopes would be perpendicular. Let's move down the page just a little bit here. We've got a couple of questions here at the top. It gives us equations. It shows us their slopes. It wants us to tell them, or it wants you to write down whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So let's look at the first one. Now, remember, to tell if they're parallel or perpendicular, we've got to look at the slope. So I'm going to circle the slope on the first equation and the slope on the second. One of the slopes is -1/2. One of the slopes is 2. Those are opposite reciprocals, so they're perpendicular. Now we look at the next one. We look at the slopes. One's 3 and one is -3. Now, those are opposites. One's positive, one's negative. But they are the same number. They're not reciprocals, and they're not equal, so they're neither parallel or perpendicular. Now this one's kind of tricky. We have x over 7 and 1 over 7, but remember, if it's x over 7 is really equal to 1 over 7x, so we really have a slope of 1/7 and a slope of 1/7. Since they're equal, they're parallel. All right, guys, so that's about it on this video. You can look at the next one if you want to continue.